I'm Trulove. I'm the Vice President and Dean of Admission Financial Aid, and it's really great to have you all here. You've joined us for the Biology Faculty Office Hours. This is going to be a great session. We have two of our faculty members here who will introduce themselves in a few moments. Just to let you all know, during this session, I'm going to ask you to private chat me your questions, particularly when the sessions are large. We keep you on mute just because it's hard to get things out. But if you private chat me your question, I will either send that question to the faculty members and they'll speak to it as they're talking, or I will interrupt them and ask them directly, but I will pass those on to our faculty members. So feel free to do that at any time. I'm going to send you a message in a moment so you can find me really easily over the course of the discussion. But without further ado, Derek, Anna, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Hi, my name is Derek Applewhite, and welcome to Faculty Office Hours. I teach in biology.
Hi, my name is Anna Ritz. Welcome to Faculty Office Hours. I also teach in biology.
Okay, so Anna and I are going to go over a couple things that's specific to biology so you can understand about the major, who we are, what type of research we do, and then hopefully we'll open up for a lot of time for a question to answer, because I think that tends to be the best way to get information to you. I'm gonna share my screen with you in a second. Gotta love technology. Okay. Sorry for the delay.
No problem.
Okay. Okay, and where is my... Here we go. Okay. Great, okay. So here we have just a picture we took last year of our current faculty in the department. There are about 13 of us. Sometimes we can't all be there at the same time, but we got together after a faculty or after a poster session we had this summer. So we'll go through almost everyone here and tell you a little bit about their research in the process of this quick little presentation. Great. So all the information that we're about to share with you can be easily found on our website. So I really encourage you to take a look. We have a lot of really good information there. We talk about our research, about the courses, and a lot of other sort of links to the grants and papers that we've written as faculty. Our seminar series is a lot of really good information. But also feel free to interrupt me if you have any specific questions now. And I would be happy, we both would be happy to answer them. And this might be one of the more important tabs in the website, which is just the academic program. And this talks about the different types of majors we have and the classes that correspond to these majors. And I will dive a little bit deeper into this because we have a couple flavors of biology. So we have a biology major. You could be straight up biology, and that would encompass a little bit of courses from a little bit of all types of science, from environment, ecology, to molecular and cell, to genetics. But we also have a couple flavors of biology. And by flavors, I mean they're biology majors, but they are kind of a little bit hybrid of other courses as well. So the first one I'll talk about is the BMB, or Biochemistry and Molecular Biology major. And this major is kind of a combination of biology and chemistry. So it focuses heavily on the molecular and the biochemistry, obviously, aspects of biology, but you also take a lot of chemistry, organic, inorganic, so really focusing in on the molecular side of things. We also newly have a neuroscience program. And so it's very similar to BMB, except neuroscience really combines aspects of psychology and biology. So you'll learn sort of the biology's aspects of psychology and sort of the psychology aspects of biology, if you will. This focuses heavily on neuroscience, animal behavior, et cetera. So this is our neuroscience program. And this program is maybe 2 years old now. We also have an environmental studies major. So if you are, this program combines not just biology and chemistry, but also some social sciences, history, economics, and political science. And this major looks at all aspects of the environment, the history of it, and actually making policy and understanding policy, and more of a translational mode of how environmental studies work. And then finally, we have another option within the biology department, biology major, which is alt bio. And that's why it's in by petition in parentheses. An alt bio major essentially is a biology major with a little bit of flavor of something else. So for instance, I'm currently a thesis or an academic advisor for a student who wants to do a biology theater major. So for what that means, alt bio theater, what that means is that that student will take mostly biology classes, but some of the biology classes will be substituted for theater. And then when it comes time for the senior thesis, there'll be some aspect of that student's thesis that will have to do with theater, but it will be a biology major. So these are kind of the 4 flavors of the biology major. And again, there's a lot more detail about those on our website, but I am also happy to ask or answer any questions. I know it's kind of a flash in the pan of how quickly we're talking about them, but if you really want to get into details, I would suggest going to the website. Okay.
Cool. So we're now going to give like a 1-sentence description about what everybody in our department does. And one of the reasons for this is because we all are doing research, but also there's an element of our research in all of our upper level classes. So you kind of get a taste of this type of stuff in all of the upper level, 300 level biology courses at Reed. So the first person is Eric Zornick, and he is a neurobiologist, and he studies vocalizations patterns in frogs. All right, the next person is Kara Cerveny, and she is a developmental biologist, and she studies retinal development, so eye development, using zebrafish as her model system. All right, Janice Champay is actually currently our department chair, and she is a geneticist, and she studies the molecular biology of telomeres, which are the ends of chromosomes. All right, Susie Wren is an animal behavior neurobiologist as well, but a very different type than Eric Zornick. And she is trying to understand sex-biased behavior, and she uses another type of fish, Bertoni, in her work. Keith Carley is a evolutionary biologist, and he studies kind of species differentiation in different types of wildflowers, especially those that are found kind of local to this area in the Columbia Gorge. Sarah Shack, whose photo is actually the teeny tiny one in the middle, is another kind of genetics genomicist in our department, and she studies kind of whole genome evolutionary mutation rates and other types of effects that happen in not the coding regions but the non-coding regions of DNA. Okay, Jay Mellies is the microbiologist in our department, and he has a bunch of kind of really different cool projects. He has projects on plastic-eating bacteria. He tries to understand how a certain type of E. coli causes diseases. He also has a project right now on investigating CBD as a potential therapeutic. All right, Aaron Ramirez is our kind of jointly appointed biology faculty who's also in our environmental studies program. And he is an ecologist, but he studies the effect of fire and drought on trees and also people. So he is also involved in kind of the policy and the translational side of that type of research. Sam Fay is also an ecologist, and he is an aquatic ecologist. So he studies, his kind of study systems are in lakes, and he looks at how kind of variation in temperature and climate effects affect large groups of different species.
Okay, that's me. I am a cell biologist, so I study cells, and I study essentially how cells change shape, how they move, how they migrate, and this includes all types of cells from neurons to regular epithelial cells, etc.
Cool. And this is me. And that was like very rapid fire because I'm actually not a biologist. I am a computer scientist by training. So I am very proud of myself that I could explain all of my colleagues' research. So as a computer scientist, I develop tools and algorithms, like ways to think about signaling pathways. And I use these big molecular interaction networks. So I use a lot of kind of concepts from graph theory in order to try to understand kind of what could be regulating what in terms of molecular biology at a systems level.
And I wanted to address the question that came up in the chat, which was if you're a alt bio / theater major, what is your degree in? And that's a great question. So the alt bio program seems a little bit confusing when I explained it, but really what that alt bio program does allows you to focus on another field outside of biology. But your degree would be biology. We don't have minors in biology, but this alt bio program allows you to sort of study some topic outside of biology intensely, but still be a bio major. So in the end, your degree would be in biology. I hope that answers that question.
Cool.
All right.
I think we actually had a couple other slides. I don't know if you need to share it, Derek, but we just wanted to talk about the fact that all of that research, kind of students at Reed get access to all of that research through both our upper level classes and summer research opportunities. We all often have multiple students working with us because, you know, we have a lot of research that we want to get done, and we have Reed undergrads, and so we kind of get a lot of research done in the summer, and there's a lot of opportunities to be involved with that.
Yeah. So a little bit more about the classes, just so it's a little less ambiguous. Students who are biology majors will take an introductory biology class, and that biology class is taught by 4 faculty. Is that right? A semester, so 8 in total. Or you can also take Anna's Introductory to Computational Biology class. So that's our intro bio section. And then once you've taken intro bio, biology majors will then go on and take the next level of classes, which is our 300 level classes. And 300 level classes are lecture lab courses. So you have a lecture and a lab associated with it. And those tend to be more in our specialized field. So our intro bio covers small portions of the larger, so you can think of the intro bio as like an introduction to our 300 level classes. So what I talk about in my intro bio class is a little miniature section that lasts 6 weeks about cell biology. But then if you were to take my 300 level biology class, you would take full 13-week semester class with a lab associated with that. And so that's how each of our sort of introductory and biology classes go together. We do have a couple other, we have one other sort of 200 level class, which is new. And this is Introductory to Scientific Literature and Discourse. This class is tied to our seminar series. So at Reed, we are really lucky to have a seminars series where we bring in scientists from all over the world, quite literally. And they share their work with us. And then this seminar class is tied to that. And so the students read the papers those scientists are presenting on, and then scientists come and present. And then that class also is intended and is involved in that seminar class. So that's kind of the curriculum in a nutshell. I think you have to take 5 lecture labs as a major, and they're sort of spread out among 3 areas: genetics, sort of cell bio-y, microbiology sort of, and then a sort of ecology plant sort of section. So bio majors would take a class from each of those sort of areas.
Yeah, there's also a question I see in the chat about the difference between the biology with a concentration in another subject and a minor in that subject. So we now have minors at Reed, and really what this alt bio gives you is it gives you room to take a collection of 6 courses in a different subject. So it doesn't have kind of the rigor of an established minor, and in fact, like what your transcript will just say alternate program in biology. It won't really even say like the other subject. So a minor is kind of a college-wide approved program that you could take. So you could be a bio major with a different, like an English minor. Or if you want to just take a few English classes and you don't think the bio major is like, it has enough flexibility for the classes you want to take, then you can do the alt bio program.
Yeah, so maybe what we can do quickly, unless there are any more questions that are popping up immediately. Anna and I actually wrote a grant that was funded, and we sort of have a project that we are both sort of doing research on. And so it's kind of nice that we're both sitting here talking with you, because we actually work together quite closely in real life. And so maybe we'll take a few seconds while people are maybe formulating some questions, and we'll talk a little bit about maybe what that project is, since it actually affects both of our classes and our research. And so Anna did mention that at Reed, we really do believe that teaching is research and research is teaching. And so a lot of us do bring in our real life research to our classes. And so Anna and I have a grant from the National Science Foundation to study cell morphogenesis, basically. It's
and Derek, can you talk, what is the National Science Foundation?
Great, thank you. That's a great question. National Science Foundation is, there are 2 government funding, big government funding organizations. The National Science Foundation is one of them. The other one is the National Institutes of Health. So these are giant government organizations that give out grant money to researchers when they apply for it. They tend to be quite competitive, as you can imagine, but it's basically tax dollars from US citizens that fund the research in this country. And so we were able to successfully land a grant about 2 years ago. The grant's a 4-year long grant. And so we're studying how cells change shape, and this is a very critical process during the development of organisms. So cells can be sort of square shaped, and then upon activity of this particular protein, it's called non-muscle myosin 2, they go from being like square shaped to pyramidal shaped. And that little cell shape change from this to this is enough to cause cells to invaginate. So they go inside, or to make tubes. So it's the cell shape change is how cells invaginate or make another layer of cells or make a tube. And so what Anna and I are doing is she's using her computational methods to investigate possible new proteins in this pathway. So it's a very regulated pathway that regulates this cell shape change. And then what my class does with the candidates that Anna's class computationally figures out, we actually test those candidates in class. So a major aspect of my lab section of my class is to experimentally validate the computationally discovered candidates in this pathway that regulates the cell shape change. Anna, did I miss anything in that?
That was perfect. Yeah. And the amazing thing is we've actually gotten some good, like, validated results from this process.
Right.
So this is an example where Derek and I do not know the answer. We really do not know what's going to happen, but through our classes, we've been able to make new scientific discoveries.
Right. So, it's our hope in the next year or two to write up some of these stories, and I don't mean stories we made it up, but the scientific story of the discovery of these proteins. And I currently have a thesis student that is working on the next sort of step in research. So in the class, we figured out that there's this particular protein that regulates the cell shape change process based on Anna's data. And then We studied it in class, and then she went on to investigate it even more for her thesis project. So this collaboration between Anna and I helped students learn how to do computational biology, helped students learn how to do cell biology, and now it's going to be used as students using it for their thesis work. And in the future, in very near future, it will hopefully be a paper that we actually publish to the rest of the scientific world. So this is a really good example of how we took research, used it in our class, and then we're following that all the way through, and hopefully we'll put that research back out to the world. So it's really exciting, and it's been a really fruitful collaboration already. I was surprised that we even got one target, but every year we've gotten a target that works. So we actually have more proteins to study in this pathway than we have time to actually study it. So.
And Derek, Derek and Anna, we've got some really good questions, and so I'm gonna we'll have plenty to cover, I think, for the next session. So I might, for some of these, say, we might want a quick answer for some of these.
Okay.
And I'm combining a few, so folks will know sort of if I'm referring to them. I think there's some question of folks are curious about life after Reed and what people frequently do if they go to industry, if they get a PhD, and if they go into pre-vet and pre-med school, how we prepare people and how their likeliness of getting to those two programs generally works out.
Yeah, I'll let you go, Anna.
Okay. Yeah, so we have a number of students who go on and eventually go to graduate school. They may not go right away, but there's a lot of students who often find kind of really great, we call them post-bac positions. So like a position right after graduation that helps set them up for their career. We also have students who are definitely planning for a pre-med track. I have an advisee who's planning to go to pharmacy school. We don't have particular programs, like we don't have a pre-med program, but we do have advisors within the bio department who are kind of like experts in making sure that students are taking the classes they need to take in order to be prepared for that next step. So that's go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was saying, we have also the Center for Life Beyond Reed, which is a really, really great group organization within the institution that helps put students on the right track for pre-med or pre-vet school or pre-law school or pre-pharmacy school. I would say also too, to add, the that's BMB major, that biochemistry molecular biology major, is the closest to what would a quote unquote pre-med curriculum would look like. And I say that because it requires students to take all the biology classes that most pre-med students would want to take, all the chemistry classes that most pre-med students would need to take, physics, and the math classes. So we don't have a pre-med major. That's not a thing at Reed, but the BMB major most closely tracks along with that pre-med / pre-vet, probably / pre-pharmacy track.
And I'll just jump in to clarify, and what you'll find at many private liberal arts schools is that none of us has a pre-med major, and that pre-med is not truly a major. It's instead a set of courses that you take to prepare for med school.
Correct.
And most of it depends on your advising. And I know many of you are aware of that. And so in terms of the quality of the program, you could, for example, major in English and get into med school as long as you take those set number of classes. And most of that is because when students come to Reed, the focus is on learning. Derek and Anna, maybe you could sort of address this. So Reed produces more STEM grads who go on to earn their PhD than any other college in the United States per capita. Why is Reed number one? What's in the secret sauce? What are we doing that might be a little bit different than other schools in biology, chemistry, math, physics?
I personally think, and I'll let Anna chime in, it's the thesis experience. I think students come to Reed knowing that they have to do a senior thesis, I like to say get to do a senior thesis. And I know for a lot of the STEM folk, what that means is that you are doing a year-long research project that's probably very that dovetails with the research of the faculty. And so what that looks like is very much like what happens in grad school. So your first, your second or third year in grad school is when you start to sort of fly on your own. You're just doing an independent research. You're investigating hypotheses that you've come up on your own, and you're doing all the experiments to sort of test those. And that's really what a senior thesis looks like at Reed. You come up with really great hypotheses, then you are given the tools and the equipment and the support from your faculty advisor to explore that question. And it just turns out that a thesis experience seems very similar to what happens in grad school. And a lot of students really get the research bug and go on and go pursue their PhD because they had this experience so early in their formative years of education. So that's my take. I think that's why a lot of Reed students go on to get their PhD. I don't know, Anna, do you have another opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Derek said. And also just another thing is, I think this is also kind of common to other liberal arts schools is, you know, Reed students don't just learn how to do research, they also learn how to write and communicate their results. And like, that's actually becoming more and more important in academia, trying to communicate results. And so it's kind of this combination. I mean, I view my job as training kind of like the next generation of future scientists, and like really whatever position they end up being in. We also model this, you know, teacher scholar, you know, we all do research in our department and we're all very proud of the research we do. So I think that also kind of can become a little infectious.
And I think that piece around writing is really, really important. As a Reed student, you'll have to take Humanities 110. And I think this is such a great class for scientists. And I'll tell you why. We have students that come into our classes already able to read closely and think critically, which is what scientists do. And so Humanities 110 really plays well with STEM. It really does. And I think students come into our classes after having that rigorous training in Hum 110, able to break down scientific articles, able to figure out the points of things, and able to think critically about it, which is all one really needs to do to be a really good scientist. So I think there's a great synergy between Hum 110 and the STEM fields, to tell you the truth.
Excellent. So we have a question here, and I'm going to combine a few questions. So some of it is a curiosity about the first course. If one could take computational biology instead of normal bio intro course, I think that's just a really quick yes or no. But the other part of it is how much of our classes are dedicated to the lab, how much is discussion. And when it comes to the thesis, if an alt bio major can do a double major, and do they have two theses?
All right, I can field the first couple parts of that. So for the intro to computational biology class, there is a prerequisite of 1 semester of the kind of other bio introductory topics in biology course. So what students do is they usually take that course, Bio 101 in the fall, and then my class in the spring. Also, students also could add my class as an extra class if they want to already get started on a different aspect of biology while you finish this 2-year part of the intro for the topics course. Okay, what were the other questions, Milian? Sorry, I forgot.
How much is lab, how much is lecture, and can an alt bio person double major?
Okay.
And if you double major, if you can use just one thesis for both those.
Great.
Programs.
Great. I'll answer the second question, and then Derek can talk about the distribution of time. So it is possible to do a double major at Reed, but that actually means 2-year-long theses. And what's way more common is that instead of doing it, for example, an alt bio or a double major, you can petition to build your own interdisciplinary major. And the reason you petition for it is then you want to say, I want to do a thesis that intricately combines these 2 subfields. And there's I can't just be a bio major or just be a English major. and do the senior year thesis I want to do. So there is a way to petition to say, I want to build my own major that's kind of pulling components of those two different majors. And so people petition for interdisciplinary majors that allow you to do one thesis instead of double majoring.
Okay, and for the lecture discussion lab question, so the bio major has a requirement of 5 lecture lab courses, and so labs are generally 4 hours long, 1 day a week. Lectures are anywhere from twice a week for 80 minutes to 3 times a week for 50 minutes. And the way that the discussion in lectures goes, it really depends on the faculty who is teaching the class. My cell biology class, for instance, is really heavy on I try to combine sort of a conference discussion with my lecture. So I'm lecturing and we're discussing at the same time. So it's kind of a hybrid conference lecture class. Other faculty tend to lecture more. In some classes, they maybe lecture less. So that really depends on the faculty's point of view and the faculty's way of structuring class. But labs are 4 hours long, once a week. Yeah, I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, it really does. I think this is sort of the fun part. This is when you have to put on your advising hat, because these are sort of like, what direction should I go in, multiple choice. So we have 3 this or that questions.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask one of you to take each of these at a time. So someone who's thinking would the B&B major be an ideal path to public health if they're thinking of epidemiology on the molecular level for someone who's fascinated by diseases? Should they do that or something else?
Definitely, that'd be a great major to go into, and would set you up for public health for sure.
Excellent. Another this or that. I want to study biomedical engineering in graduate school. Is the engineering dual degree program a good choice, or is the biology program a better choice?
Anna, do you want to take that one?
I imagine, but the dual degree program is a 3-2 program is what you're talking about. We do have some kind of connections with other schools that will allow you to, within 5 years, get a Reed degree and a master's or do additional coursework. Send one of us an email and we'll put you in touch about that. Yeah.
This is kind of fun. We got another this or that while we were talking. So someone who's torn between majoring in bio and anthropology, would it be best that they include it or do an alt bio?
I think that would come down to how much you want to incorporate, how much you want to combine anthropology with biology. So there's a lot of students that do alt bio. So again, biology major, your degree would be biology, but you took an intense 6 courses in anthropology. Your thesis would be a straight up bio thesis. So you would not have any real anthropology elements to that thesis. Now you could do what Anna was talking about before, which was an interdisciplinary major. So it'd be a bioanthro. In that case, you would fully combine your bio and anthropology degree into one, an interdisciplinary degree, and you would take 2 different qualification exams. We didn't talk about qualification exams. I'll say it quickly. Every major there's an exam. It's a qualification exam. Are you ready to go on and do your thesis in that major? Your coursework up to that point will prepare you for the qualification exam, and it's not something to really stress about because the coursework will prepare you for that qualification exam. But if you're going to be an interdisciplinary major, you're going to actually take 2 qualification exams. And then, of course, the next level is just doing 2 different theses. So you'd be double majoring. In 6 years, I have not seen a double major, but it does happen.
One other thing to add to that is if you are worried about having to decide, your first couple years worth of courses would look exactly the same, no matter whether you do an alt bio or an interdisciplinary bio. So you would be able to come here, take some anthropology courses, take some bio courses, and with your academic advisor decide that.
Mm-hmm. So I have this is this or that question, but I'm going to combine it with a couple because it's about environmental studies, and I'll just let our viewers know we do also have. Because of biology tends to be one of our 1 or 2 most populous programs in terms of number of students who choose to major in biology. We do have another biology session next week, And we did have an environmental studies session last week. That recording is going to go online. It'll be online by early next week. So if you want to go back and view that, you can. But we will have at least 2 more biology sessions. So if you don't have all your questions answered today, you can feel free to join us later on. But would you recommend, so environmental studies, is that a major? Or is it something that's more of a biology major with an environmental studies focus? And would you encourage someone to do environmental studies rather than B&B if they wanted to do conservation veterinary medicine?
That is a great question. And the fact of the matter is, you could do conservation veterinary medicine from being a biology major or from being an environmental studies major. So the root is really what you really want to do and what really gets you up in the morning, I would say. The environmental studies major is an interdisciplinary major at the institution. And it comes in 4 flavors: biology, chemistry, history, and
Political science, I think.
political science. And so you'd be environmental studies bio, or environmental studies chemistry, environmental studies political science, environmental studies history. And so all that second tag is just basically, where was your focus amongst environmental studies program? And so so you could be an environmental studies biology. So you take the environmental studies sort of general environmental studies program, but then you kind of specialize within that about biology. So that's how that major works.
Yeah. And I also, again, want to add that it's also totally fine to take other courses, right, beyond that. So in a way, you get to decide what you are interested in to major in, and then you could take other courses to make sure that you're prepared for your next steps.
So there are 2 questions I'm going to answer. And if you had anything to add, feel free to jump in. The first is, what classes would you recommend in high school for majoring in biology if AP Bio isn't available? What we find is that if you're successful in your classes, even if you don't offer AP curriculum, you're fine. Just do the best you can in the classes that are offered. And I always say, you know what the challenging classes are at your high school, you know what the challenging math class, what the challenging science classes are. And so that's really the standard that you should look for. Math is really important. I find that students who exhaust their math curriculum tend to have the least transition time to the sciences here. And so if there's a math class you're nervous about taking and you decide to take that easier one, the more challenging class is going to, I think, set you up better for success. And the second is, in terms of requirements, the difference between a BA and a BS. For all intended purposes, a BS and BA, there's no substantive difference from schools. You can go on and succeed in graduate school with one versus the other. There's a slight difference in approach or in the type of school, but not truly in the classes you would take. So it's more apples to apples than apples to oranges. Anna, Derek, would you agree with those?
Yeah. We kind of treat our intro students clean slate. So whether you had AP Bio or not, it's a clean slate. We start all over. AP Bio is great. It's a great curriculum. It really does teach you great things, but it's not necessarily nor required. And we sort of go beyond that anyway. So, but I think Million hit everything well. Yeah.
This is kind of a fun question. And I know our session was set for 40 minutes. I think we're going to go an additional few minutes because you have very good questions here. But we should be wrapping up in about 5 questions. So I'll put it that way.
Okay.
This is a great question that I've been waiting to ask. So while it might not apply to everyone, many of our professors work with fish and aquatics. Might that be meaningful, in particular for students who are interested in marine biology? Is there a benefit?
I'll let you take that one, Noah.
So there's we currently don't have any faculty who does marine biology, but we do have aquatic biology, especially with Sam Fay, the water ecologist. He does freshwater stuff. So taking those classes would help prepare you. Although I will be honest, we currently don't have a marine biology faculty member who explicitly focuses on that.
Susie does do animal behavior, Professor Susie Wren, and she's actually advised thesis students who've studied orca behavior in the Puget Sound.
Yeah.
So she had students that would go up for the summer and observe orcas in the Puget Sound, and then came back and wrote their thesis about that work. So
Yeah.
while we don't have a dyed-in-the-wool marine biologist, there are ways to find a thesis that would sort of dovetail nicely with those interests.
Yeah. Thanks, Derek. That's a great point.
And that's a good segue, because I think some of the, a few of the questions, they're curious about other ways they can live out their love or passion for biology. And so if they're interested in a specific area of research, can you work with a faculty member to design a project around that? I just heard you say yes. Are there biology-focused study abroad programs? Are there paid internships off campus or through the School for Biology?
Yes. Yeah.
All of that is available. And we make sure that we talk with students early on to notify them of all those opportunities. So yes.
Awesome. If someone wants to do research in genetic disease, does that fall under the B&B program?
Again, it could very well. Both. We do have two genetics people on, three, I should say that. Anna. Anna does research on genetics, genetic diseases. Janice and Sarah are all genomicists in their own right. But you could easily be a biology major and study that topic, or you could be a B&B major and study that topic. Either one would be, or a neuroscience major for that matter. There's a lot of neuroscience diseases that are genetic. So they're really, the avenue of which you study that topic, it really doesn't matter. Really what matters is, like I said this before, is what gets you up in the morning. If neuroscience gets you up in the morning, but you're interested in genetic diseases, do a neuroscience major, study genetic diseases through the lens of neuroscience. Yeah.
So one of the things I'll just mention, because I think it somewhat addresses one of our final questions, and then I'll ask you both a final question. Intro biology is for students who are biology majors, and it's for students who are not biology majors. That's actually something that's really unique about Reed. There isn't like a biology for poets, but that also means that the English class you're taking, the philosophy class you're taking, these are true courses designed for people who are interested in those topics in a very true way. Derek, Anna, do you want to just speak to that and what that does for the classroom experience?
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I see that as actually even more pronounced in my classes in terms of computational biology, because I'm teaching programming, right, within a biology class. And I think what it does is it really expands the breadth of expertise of the people in the room and the interests, right? And so I think it's a really kind of awesome opportunity to be in a room and get a lot of other people's completely different perspectives about this thing that, frankly, Derek and I have been studying for decades, right? So it's been really, really wonderful just to have kind of essentially like, the intro classes are designed to be taught to kind of the entire college, across different like interests. And I think that's actually a really great strength.
And you not only learn from us as faculty, but you learn from each other. And so having people of different types of majors in your class will really add to your learning experience in general. So I think it's great.
Awesome. You both have been very thorough. I'm impressed with how much ground you covered. And I'm actually impressed with our guests. You've officially asked more questions than any session I've sat in on. So it was really fun, really fun to hear from all of you. So good work. So as we're leaving, I know that some of you are hearing about biology the first time. Some of you are really making a really fun but also challenging decision. I'm going to leave you with one comment, which says that some of you have heard me say this, is you're trying to make a decision about where your home is going to be. Major is a big part of it. One trick in decision-making process I always say is to not just think about your first year. Your first year is going to be exciting. You might think about where you live. You might be anxious about circumstances. But I also invite you to think about college during your fourth year. Think about you as a senior at the different schools that you're exploring. And it allows you to take in the information you're learning in a different way. You as a senior at Reed might look different than you as a senior at a different school. And when you think about which of those two individuals you're most excited about, that's really going to help you figure out which school might be the best fit for you. So that's just my little piece of advice I've been leaving folks with. But before I leave, I'm going to invite our faculty members to either talk about a really special student experience in terms of what they've done after you've worked with them, or I'm going to invite you to say something that you really value and appreciate about Reed.
So I went to really big schools for my education. I went to University of Michigan for my undergrad, and I went to Northwestern University in Chicago for my PhD. And then I did what was called a postdoc at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I truly believe that the best part of Reed is the interaction that you have with the faculty members. And at all three of those institutions I just mentioned, I did not make the connections that the Reed students make with their faculty here. And I really do think that that's the difference, is that I know all the students in my class, and I will keep up with all the students in my class, and we have a personal relationship. And that has helped me help them in their futures as well. They're able to use my connections to the places that I've been and the people I know. But also, their education was just far more enhanced by having a personal connection with their faculty. And had I known, I did not know, had I known a Reed existed, I would have signed me up. So I think that's genuinely how I feel about the school.
And I guess I'll just leave you all with a particular interaction with a student that I've had actually over the entire 4 years of his time at Reed. I have a student, Gio, who was as a freshman in my Bio 131, my intro comp bio class. And he ended up doing research with me that next summer in my group. He then left biology, was going to be a chemistry major, kind of thought about CS, and he ended up landing in economics. And he is still my TA for my intro comp bio class. So I still see him every week. He just got this amazing fellowship, this Watson fellowship, to go travel the world. And I get to be a part of his final thesis kind of committee at the very end of the year. So that is just like one example of one student who I've gotten to know, even though he's not even a bio major anymore, right? And like those relationships still persist here at Reed.
Well, thank you so much. Really nice to see all of your faces, and really nice to have you join us on this Friday afternoon. Again, we have environmental studies session that we're going to post from last week. We have future biology sessions next week. We're also going to post the content of this session. It usually takes us a couple days to put that online, but feel free to go to the website. When you do that, you'll notice an updated website when we have a lot of new content coming. Next week, we have a lot of special events. I'm going to interview our president, Audrey Bilger, on Sunday, so hopefully you can join me for that. And the director and I are going to invite you and your parents on Monday night to have a conversation with us. And next week, we're kicking off admitted student roundtables. So you, along with 7 other current students and a couple of current Reedies, can come in and just chat. And so those are offered several times next week. If you're interested, go ahead and sign up. Great to see you all. Anna, Derek, thank you so much. And everyone have a great day. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.